死んだは初めて俺に伝えている。
絶望を飲み終えた。
面白いこと見せようか。ほら、こんなに家賃が多すぎて。
お父さん。
あかん。
ドナルド君もまだ死ぬ時じゃないでしょ。
アメリカ万歳。ファイト。
絶対負けないよ。
ランドトライドまで。
出ろ。だってまだサンキュー言ってないでしょ。一回も言ってください。
おい、仲良くしてね。この世界傷ついていけるかな。昔グレートだった大きにまたグレートになるかな。あのさ、有名人なら誰かのマンコ掴んでいいさ。そう言い放せるで。
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome into CobraCast 199. I am your host, Jeremy Prime, Mage I. of the 199. Happy to see all of you here today. A lot to talk about and just a short time to do it. So we're going to get right into it. But before we do, we have to give a big shout out to the birthday boy, Tree Bear. Today is my birthday. Don't forget to get your free Slurpees and pour some out for Meek's Diabetes. Hail the 199. Make sure you go follow the Meme King Tree Bear over on Twitter. I'm sure Moz can drop a link to that. Hail to Tree Bear for all the work that you do, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And keep the memes going. Keep the memes going, you damn IDOT. Gary's calling me. Even though I'm live.
I butt dialed you.
I'll see you in about an hour for F&T, brother.
See you in an hour. Later, bro.
Bye. All right, so there we go. Now, Ministry of Wrong Things says, one silver lining to all of this is the fact that people who are demanding the cover-up must be freaking pissed that the coverage has been botched so badly. It has, and we're going to talk about all of that. And look, the big news of the day right now is that Dan Bongino is considering resigning as FBI director after a dispute with AG Pam Bondi over the Epstein files. Multiple outlets are reporting. This is huge. This is a massive, massive story right now. And look, man, the bottom line is all I can do is be honest with my audience here. That's all I can do. And I have been very, very, very vocal about my displeasure with how the Trump administration has handled this Epstein situation. It is a disaster. It is a huge problem, and it's a huge black eye on the administration. It's hard for me to be excited for a lot of the things that they are doing, and they are doing a ton of good. They're doing so many amazing things. This has been such a great job by the administration. But this one thing in particular and how it has been handled is so bad. There's no other way to look at it other than that. It is terrible, horrible optics. And Trump's answer during that cabinet meeting made it even, that's where it really sent it to another level. Trump could have handled that any amount of ways, and he decided to handle it in the worst possible way you could imagine. Trump could have just let Pam Bondi answer it and moved on, but Trump decided to tell people to stop talking about it. That is the number one wrong way to handle anything. Telling people to stop talking about it is the guaranteed way to get people to continue to talk about it. In my opinion, this is the biggest botch in Trump's entire presidency, the way he's handled this and his administration has handled this. And we can say it's Pam Bondi's fault. It's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault. Nobody else to blame but Trump. He hired Pam Bondi. He's responsible. when we want to sit there and say Rubio's doing a great job as under Donald Trump's leadership, we're still giving Trump the credit for Rubio doing such a good job. So if we're going to say Pam Bondi's doing a terrible job, then it still has to fall at the feet of the leader. As I've said, leadership. Leadership is all about you as a leader, as the individual, as the leader. When something is wrong, it's your fault. When something is right, my team is doing a great job. Everybody is awesome. That is leadership. Trump has to take responsibility for this. So it's bad, man. Timefire 199 says, Jeremy's finally criticizing Trump. He's so close, guys. I'm almost there. What's up, Timefire? Nandy says, Trump fire Bondi, get Gates, and hope Bongino stays. Maybe, but I don't know if Bongino. Listen, Bongino is going to try to save face, which I appreciate, but I think he's already done significant damage because of the way he's handled it too. Basket City for a member message. Thank you. Little Jims, it says, Dan Bongino might leave the FBI, Laura Loomer report. Gerald Armstrong says, the Beardo gang watched Superman 78 last night and Clark killed Pa Kent. How is this less worse than the way Man of Steel killed him? Granted, using a tornado is cringy. What? By the way, yes, the 199 crew over on Locals watched Superman 78. And that is still the best version. The best version. Ryan Miller says, hey, Jeremy, Pam Bondi needs to resign because she is sabotaging Trump, and he needs to have the balls to fire her. And Benny Johnson covered the Bongino and Pam Bondi situation. Do you agree? Well, I agree, but I still don't think that I don't agree that just because Trump fires Bondi, that all is right. Like Donald Trump needs to handle the situation better. Donald Trump is still the most responsible of this whole disaster. It's Trump. You can use Pam Bondi as a scapegoat as you want, but it doesn't change the fact that Pam Bondi didn't give the answer that Trump gave in the cabinet meeting. Trump did. Okay? Trump did. Trump gave that response, not Pam Bondi. I don't like Pam Bondi either. I think Pam Bondi has handled this bad, but are you going to fire Alina Habba? Because Alina Habba sat there and said that the Trump administration has lists and names and videos and all of this. Alina Habba said the same thing. So, I mean, at some point in time, like, we have to stop passing blame to try to divert from the fact that Trump is responsible. That's the bottom line. Let's see here. Andrew says Clark kills Pa Kent because he made him sprint and ends up having a heart attack. Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys know how that works, but that's not how heart attacks work. Just because you sprint, there's a long list of reasons that led you to that. But that's a Snyder Bro cope is what that is. That's Snyder Bro cope. Gabriel Knight says the Epstein public backlash isn't going away. I think they will ultimately end up having to release something, or they'd be crazy not to. Well, I mean, right now, ultimately, I think people are hanging on to this Bondi thing and thinking that that's going to solve all the problems, and it's not. Firing Bondi does not solve the problem. It just doesn't. Ministry of Wrong Things is not going to lie. It looks like a face-saving move for Bongino. That's exactly what this feels like. It feels like Bongino is deciding to do this because he wants to save face and get his podcast audience back. That's what it feels like. Because ultimately, like, this was what Bongino was saying not too long ago.
RFK, I got to check back on that one. There is more coming on the Epstein files. Listen, I know this is a hot potato for folks. I totally understand. My comments were clear. I'm not paid for my opinions anymore. I work for the taxpayer now. I'm paid on evidence. That's it. The evidence we have in our files clearly indicates that it was, in fact, a suicide. We do have video. It's not the greatest video in the world. I don't want to set expectations on fire. However, the video does show in that specific block that he goes in, made a phone call. You'll see 12 hours of guards going to basically check on him, come back. You'll see no one really comes out in that bay, in that area. than him. There's no one in there. When you combine that with the other evidence where we will be releasing in the coming weeks, we're still finalizing some of the products. I think it's pretty clear. However, as I've clearly indicated in some of my tweets on my official account, listen, investigations, if new information surfaces in the future on any of these cases, we're always open. I'm just telling you, there's nothing there in the file at all that indicates anything other than, in fact, a suicide.
Let me ask you about, and again, a lightning round.
So it gets worse. Oh, it gets much, much worse, unfortunately. Breaking: the footage from Jeffrey Epstein's cell was released by the DOJ was edited by Adobe Premiere Pro, stitched from 2 clips, and was saved 4 times. That is a report from Wired. So it was edited by Premiere Pro. Holy shit. Whose fault is that? Is that Pam Bondi's? Is that Dan Bongino's? I think that would be President Trump's fault, if true. Now, again, this is the mainstream media reporting this, so you always have to take everything that they're saying with a grain of salt because they are the media and they lie. So we want to be clear about that. But yeah, this situation is getting worse by the minute right now for the administration. It's getting worse by the minute. Right here. So Axios just confirmed my report. Dan Bongino is taking the day off today, and speculation that he might resign as a FBI deputy director over his frustrations with Pam Bondi's botching of the Epstein files and lack of transparency at the DOJ. Now, this was in 2023.
Listen, that Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it outside of a few entrepreneurial media outlets saying, hey, this is a big deal.
He killed himself. You want me to get, I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
Listen,
I hate how dismissive his answer is as to he killed himself. I've seen the file. It's like such an elitist answer. It's just like, I know more than you because I've seen the file. I know more than you. These are the same answers that the people that were in power when Bongino in 2023 was telling people to keep an eye on the Epstein thing, blah, 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 blah. That's the same answer that the people in power would say to him. I've seen the file. I already know the answer. How dare you question me from my elite standpoint? How dare you question me? It's like, no, fuck you, motherfucker. You work for us. We'll question you if we want. It's insane, dude. So Steve Bannon has been going off about this.
The only way this thing, the firestorm, passes is if the 5 to 10 to maybe 15% of the Trump movement, the Pepes and the hardcores, many of whom are in this audience, just say, I've had enough of it. The Epstein situation gets down to one basic question. One basic question. Who governs this country, right? Who governs this country? Is it a shadowy network of intelligence, MI6, Saudi intelligence, the Mossad, CIA, elements of DNI with other international financiers and corporations and governments? Or do the people of the United States govern? All that information has come out, and the people have to weigh and measure it itself. This is the most populist thing we can do right now.
And he has been going off all day long about it, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Now, what's interesting here, so right here, Laura Loomer says, a lot of people who work for President Trump are pissed with Blondie. They know she fucked up. Now it's just a matter of what happens next. She is an embarrassment to Donald Trump and his administration, and we need to protect Trump from people who want to drag him down. I know Laura Loomer is the quintessential Trump supporter. I understand that. And she has a relationship, like she knows Trump, she knows people in the administration. Trump is the one that gave that horrific answer. Like at some point in time, you got to hold Trump accountable for Trump's actions. Trump actually gave that terrible answer. Not Pam Bondi. Trump did. Now, she's also saying that if Blondie is fired, she's told that Ron DeSantis is being considered floated for the role of attorney general by some over the last few months. So DeSantis. And Ken Paxton is another one. I will go back to the best choices, Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is truly the best choice, in my opinion. Let me catch up on some super chats really quickly. Disinfected Scientist says, issue is Trump hates bringing up anything negative. Tyler B says, why does this IDOT saying answer sound like anti-swear? Happy Friday, Hail 199. Storm Shadow says Trump stole strategy from Cohen when he asked people to stop using turkey filter on him. Ryan Miller says, you're right, Jeremy. Trump needs to course correct this mess and listen to the MAGA base and make things right before it's too late. Do you agree? I mean, I absolutely agree. Darth Manic says, evidence shows Trump is king and Lord. Fight me, blue-haired freaks. Let's effing go. Jeremy is king of the interwebs. I miss Elon. Rolling Thunder becomes a new member. Thank you. Jimmy Ray says, Ryan Long's Epstein video from about a month ago is looking like he might have some insider info. I'll have to check that one out. Gerald Armstrong says, Pam Bondi is swampy. It was funny when Laura Loomer called her Blondie on X. Accident Seller says, okay, Jeremy, I'm going to buy snacks for FNT. Please pause CobraCast till I'm back, okay? Just like you do a pause screen until I say, chat, I'm back. Okay, good. You got it, brother. You got it. Ministry of Wrong Thing says, okay, massive cope warning. What if the cover-up is being deliberately botched as bad as possible as a way of telling us without telling us? Big if true. Yeah, I don't buy that one at all. Fentanyl Floyd says, not a coincidence that the one cabinet member causing a problem is a replacement pick. Wasn't Trump's first choice, Gates. I don't trust her. She needs to go. She is causing a ton of problems. There's no doubt about it. I'm not saying that she's not an issue. I'm just saying that people thinking that her being gone cures the problem, that doesn't solve the problem. CG says, this was never a big issue among the electorate, but by botching it so bad, it's become a larger issue. Yes. Thank you. Perfect. This is perfectly said right here. This was never a huge issue. It was a huge issue among the hardcore online MAGA fandom. Absolutely. Now, the way that it's been botched, it's become a massive problem. Massive problem. Well said. Booster Gold, thank you for becoming a member. Dragon says, Cobra, get Matt Gaetz because he gets. Yeah, Matt Gaetz is cool. I like Matt Gaetz. CG says, this could so easily be solved by laying out and walking through the evidence. If he did off himself, explain it. Handle this and get back to winning. Agreed. Jeremy's Trump body pillow for 5 says, Jeremy's almost there. Just wish it took longer than 30 seconds. That's what the ladies have been saying for a long time. Randor says, you suck, Fig, but I still tune in now and again. For the Emperor says, 3.5 years to re-earn my faith, but this Epstein debacle has pissed me off at the Republican Party. Richard says he sounded disgusted with that reply. I think he was forced to say it. I mean, again, it's like anything else, man. Like, Bongino was the biggest podcaster in the world. Okay? He was the biggest podcaster in the world. And he decided, I'm going to go work for the administration. Why? I mean, I guess there's a ton of reasons why. And that's just a decision that you as a person have to make. But if you're like forced to say things, is it really worth being there? Here's CNN's report on it right here.
All right, this breaking news. Sources tell CNN that Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino has told people that he's considering resigning amid a major clash between the FBI and DOJ over the continued fallout from the release or lack thereof of the Jeffrey Epstein memo. Joining us right now in files, joining us right now on the phone is CNN anchor and chief White House correspondent Caitlin Collins. Caitlin, what more are you learning?
Yeah, Fred, it remains to be seen if he actually follows through with what he has told colleagues. But what we do know is that Dan Bongino has told people he is considering resigning as the deputy director of the FBI over the fallout that has continued ever since this memo was released last Sunday. The anger inside the MAGA base has only continued to grow instead of going away, as some officials inside hoped it would. And now our colleagues, along with Christian Holmes, Tanner Rabinowitz, and Evan Perez, we're hearing that he's considering resigning after they had this heated confrontation with the Attorney General Pam Bondi over the handling of this earlier this week. And basically there was a meeting at the White House where the FBI Director Kash Patel was there, the White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. They were questioned about whether they were part of a story that there was basically some infighting over how this came out and this memo that said we're not going to be releasing any more information related to Jeffrey Epstein. And I should note that we are told Bongino denied leaking any story to this outlet that it was reported on. But there has been a lot of fighting between Attorney General Pam Bondi specifically and the leadership over at the FBI over who's to blame in this situation. I think the context here is obviously Dan Bongino, Kash Patel. They came from this.
I mean, a lot of this is on Trump. A lot of this is on Trump. Yes, the actions of his administration can be called into question, but a lot of this is on Trump. His answer has elevated this so much in the last several days. His answer has taken this from a problem to an absolute disaster for this administration.
MAGA world where they themselves had pushed a lot of questions about the so-called client list that Epstein had beforehand. And now the MAGA base is just not pleased or satisfied with what they've said in this memo that came out unsigned from the Justice Department and the FBI on Sunday night. So what we are told is Dan Bongino did not show up to work today, that he is essentially not there out of protest. But whether or not he actually follows through on this still remains to be seen. We're still reporting that out. But it just speaks to the backlash that the White House is very much.
See, I see C. Scott in the chat, who clearly is a Ben Shapiro fan, and he says Trump has bigger issues to worry about. This is a sideshow. Well, thank you for confirming that you watch Ben Shapiro. Secondly, if that's the case, then Trump should never go to another UFC fight. Okay? If Trump is so busy that he can't have time to address the Epstein situation because he's so busy, I don't want to see him go to another fucking UFC fight. Okay? I also don't want to see him tweeting about Rosie O'Donnell anymore because he doesn't have time to go to UFC fights. He doesn't have time to tweet about Rosie O'Donnell because he's so busy, guys, that he can't worry about the Epstein list. Fuck off with that bullshit, nonsensical excuse. Fucking hell. He doesn't have time. I agree he has a lot of problems that he's having to deal with, but he made this promise when asked about it. He made the fucking promise, and his campaign released those Epstein binders. They did this. This isn't something that random people online are just demanding happened. Him and his administration claimed they were going to release this. And then he was present, and JD Vance was present the day that those fucking binders were given out to these influencers. All those influencers confirmed President Trump and JD Vance were there. So don't sit there and tell me that, well, this is Pam Bondi was just a rogue employee just doing this Epstein thing. He was fucking there. Don't give me this bullshit that he don't have time. Oh, he doesn't have time. But he goes to UFC fights and tears the house down, which I love when he does that. But fuck off with that excuse. Fuck off. Insane. Jasper says that, Epstein is a cover-up because neither Dan nor Cash have said I was wrong from their years of pushing this story, saying there was more to it and telling us not to let it go. 1,000%. 1,000%. Joe C says, on a happier note, Tom Homan announced today that over 10,000 of the missing 300,000 children have been rescued from human trafficking. Yes, that is an awesome, awesome announcement. I heard about that earlier today, and that was super cool to hear. Let's see. All right. So, again, this stuff is going to continue to be a huge talking point, and how the administration handles it, I don't know. Let's hear what Alex Jones has to say.
Here's the intel I've got from multiple FBI sources and White House connected sources. One of them being Carl Serafin, who's really proven he's really dialed in and has a great knack for figuring out what's going on. There is orders obviously coming down from the top, Trump, to move on from the Epstein thing. And so when this fiasco came out with them giving mixed messages on the Epstein files, the first move was to blame Pam Bondi, who Susie Walls likes, Trump likes, but everybody else doesn't like, and reportedly is on her way out in the near future. At least people are pushing for that. Bongino will probably resign, if not now, soon, and then he can keep his honor and go back to the media. And Kash Patel is really the guy that the establishment likes. I'm not saying he's overall a bad person, but because of some of the issues and some of his congressional testimony that they could call perjury, that they still let slip through, that he's more and more what the Washington system actually likes. And so that's where we're at on all of this. I wanted to get Robert Barnes' take on what I'm saying here on air, and the fact that I don't believe this Epstein Streisand effect's going away. I think what's gone on the last few months, really intensifying last week, is only going to get more intense now. That's my view. I think it's a giant distraction from overall the great things the Trump administration is doing. And I wish this fiasco would have never happened, because now Epstein's gone from a mega massive story to really the biggest ever. And it's going to become one of the deciding issues of the Trump administration, regardless of what Trump wants. So that's where we are. What's your take?
So, yeah, I think that he's right about it overshadowing a lot of the good stuff that the Trump administration is doing. In fact, right now, President Trump is in Central Texas, and people are excited. First responders are excited that President Trump is there. And we should be spending all of our time talking about, a lot of the good that Trump has done and continues to do. But this is a distraction. And I'm glad that he waited a few days to go over there, because as he says all the time, like whenever the president's there, it takes away from a lot of the efforts that are going on. The situation in Texas is one of the worst things we have heard of in a long time, man. I mean, it's just an awful situation that, you think about, like, if you listen to how that whole thing played out, man, it's like a horror story, man. It really is. It just breaks my heart, that whole story. And it's frustrating that, we definitely have so much good, yet this thing, I feel, is just a dark cloud that's hanging over the administration right now with the Epstein stuff. And I guess that goes into the expectation of what we expect. So it's like anything else. And I mentioned it the other day about, like I was born and raised in Alabama. I grew up an Alabama football fan. So this is before Nick Saban took over. A lot of people don't realize that there was Alabama football before Nick Saban, and we had a lot of bad years. But once Nick Saban became the head coach and Alabama became the most dominant force in all of football, at some point in time, the Alabama fan base would melt down over the smallest thing. Even though we were the most dominant college football team in history, the smallest thing happens and you talk about a catastrophic meltdown from the fan base. And you're like, people on the outside are looking, going, I'd kill to have your team. I'd kill to have your coach. You guys win a championship every other year and you're crying because of this? Because we've come to expect greatness. And that is the Trump administration. The reason we are so hyper-focused on this Epstein thing is that we have come to expect greatness. We have come to expect transparency. We have come to expect getting things done and following through with the things that the administration has promised they would do. We have an expectation for the Trump administration. They want to claim transparency, and yet we're not getting any transparency on this at all. And it is completely not normal for this administration. So that's just, of course, now the whole chat's going crazy with sports and football teams. Listen, you guys can enjoy the downtime right now. Bama is not Bama. I get it. All right. But we'll be back. All right. Nick Saban will come back from retirement. Nick Saban will return at 80 something years old and bring us back to the greatness. All right. 80-year-old Nick Saban will be back. I believe. Yeah, I doubt that's going to happen. So, Corey Wilson says, honestly, having a hard time believing Bongino would betray us, and don't find it a stretch that dumb Scientologist Blondie screwed this whole thing up. Is that confirmed? Do we know she's a Scientologist? Because I haven't heard. I don't know that. I've heard people run that rumor, but is she really a Scientologist? Fear of FEMA says Trump has been all in on the cover-up since the binders. Ramtack says Jeremy is right. The buck stops with Trump and just gives more fuel to the Dems, who will use this to turn indies and moderates to vote otherwise in the midterms. Where do we know that she is a Scientologist, by the way? Like, I mean, I've heard some people mention that. Is she really? Ministry of Wrong Think says Pam Bondi was legal counsel for Pfizer. Look it up. Classic Staying Lover becomes a new member. Thank you. Yeah, Scientology is always a fascinating topic for me because, like, I've watched a lot of those videos on Scientology, and what's the guy's name that runs Scientology? Somebody in the chat will say it. It's a weird name, but his wife has been missing for like decades. Somebody will say his name in the chat. The guy that runs Scientology. No, not L. Ron Hubbard. The guy that currently runs it. David Miscavige. That's it. David Miscavige. Yeah, David Miscavige is the guy that currently runs and has been running Scientology. And his wife, I think her name is Shelly Miscavige, I think. And she's been missing for like decades. No one has seen her. No one has seen her for like decades. It's fucking crazy. And then you got Tom Cruise, who is a legitimate megastar, but also a complete psychopath. And I've watched a lot of those videos breaking down how crazy Scientology is. It's absolutely fascinating. He's done one interview, I think. The guy that runs Scientology, he did an interview. I believe it was with Ted Koppel a long, long time ago. Chat will tell me. I think he did an interview with Ted Koppel, I think. And it didn't go very well. It didn't go very well at all. And so since then, he's never done another interview publicly. Weird stuff, man. But in terms of Pam Bondi being a Scientologist, I've never heard that. I'm not saying it's not true. It was an interview with Matt Lauer. No. That's the Tom Cruise interview you're thinking about, where Tom Cruise was actually correct on psychiatry and antidepressants. I actually agree with Tom Cruise on that, because I'm not really, first of all, I don't believe in paying some fucking person with a diploma to tell them all of my problems so that they can tell me how to fix my problems when they don't know me. I believe in talking to people that know me and that I trust. I don't believe in handing people money that know nothing about me so that they can pretend that they know how to solve the problems in my life. I will never go to a fucking psychiatrist. Get the fuck out of here. Okay. Also, antidepressants. I don't buy that. I don't buy it. You know, I'm not saying it can't work for you. I'm saying for me, I don't buy any of that shit. But I'm not a fucking doctor. I'm just telling you it doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for me. I don't believe in that shit. And so Tom Cruise got labeled a psychopath for that interview. But in reality, watch it now. Watch that interview now. But he is a crazy person. So he is a crazy person. Just not for that interview, though. Even Beardo says, is gay. Keys, it says, if this was fuel for the Dems to use, they wouldn't have been used to it. People, you have to be realistic. The deep state is embedded in the government. Trump is one man against decades of rot. He can't do it all himself. This is not a bad take, actually. And this does get lost in translation of all of it. So again, I'm critical of Trump on this, and I will continue to be critical of Trump. But I'm also a realist when it comes to my criticism. And Trump has done so much good and so many incredible things that I'm not going to sit and go, Trump needs to resign over this, or he needs to be impeached, or he's in on it. I don't believe any of that either. I mean, was it Bill O'Reilly who said that he talked to Trump about this, and Trump mentioned how it could implicate even people that are not basically Trump's concern via Bill O'Reilly, and this was a while back. Trump's concern was releasing this public information would implicate people that had nothing to do with the situation. And by doing that, these people would be able to sue the government for defaming them for having nothing to do with the crimes involved. Some of the people. That's what Bill O'Reilly says that Trump's reasoning was. So, you know, Andrew Sierra says Jeremy's doctor is Beardo. Makes sense. He goes out and gives medical advice on live streams. Bo Briscoe says, spending my member message to talk smack on Ohio. This whole state sucks. The people, the drivers, the cities, and all the sports teams from there. What's up, Bo and Andrew CR? Thank you. Socrates Magoat says Pam Bondi is owned by COS Scientology bigwigs that funded her reelection in Florida. Okay, so we're starting to get the pieces of the puzzle. So that's starting to make a little more sense now. That's starting to make a little more sense. Colin Bright says, did you ever work retail, Jeremy? I might tell you guys some retail stories at some point, but that's a personal thing that I never want to share with the internet. It's very personal to me, my retail career. And basically, because being a retail worker is such a prestigious honor, and by me telling you that I worked retail, it will make it seem like I'm talking down to you, but I'm not really talking down to you. It's just that it's so prestigious to work retail. You know, like the top 1% maybe is able to work retail, you know? So Jeffrey Hill says, I just want to see the list and I want to see some people go to jail for it. It's that simple, right? Not complicated. This is what we want. This is all we want. This is not a complicated thing, and it shouldn't. It should not upset people that that's what we want. Now there's a lot of other stuff too, and it's kind of like when it rains, it pours, because you've got Trump sending weapons to Ukraine, which is, I don't know what Trump's dealing with on that end as far as trying to get this thing with Russia and Ukraine fixed. I mean, the problem is he said over and over and over again he would have that war ended on day one. And we're in 6 months and nothing's happened. And now is sending weapons to Ukraine. I'm not going to go off on all of that because I don't know exactly what he's dealing with. I don't like it. But I also know, I guess he's trying to end that situation. And it seems like he's running into roadblock after roadblock. Now, someone else that Trump is not a fan of, Jerome Powell, is reportedly considering resignation. So Trump has been calling this guy out like crazy. So apparently Jerome Powell, Fed chair, is considering resignation. So, yeah, that's long overdue. Long overdue. Let me see. By the way, and one of the, I know all this, I know all of this political stuff is very divisive and there's a lot of emotions and all of that. But I will say, talking about politics is far less divisive than talking about the new Superman movie, which I did on the Piers Morgan show. And when I was on Piers Morgan, I actually wore my MAGA hoodie with the intent to piss off James Gunn fans and Snyder Bros.
Superman's actually a refugee.
Isn't that an immigrant?
They're trying to equate those things together, which I think is ridiculous because of the current politicization of that situation.
James Gunn is not the kind of guy who's going to put an American flag in his front yard during 4th of July. And that's the kind of guy you need to be to create Superman.
I did not like this movie at all. Every man in this movie is weak and he cries.
Chris, there is one silver lining here, which I think you touched on.
Dresses, short skirts, high heels, cleavage. Thank you, James Gunn, for that.
Hollywood's has been trying to remove masculinity for it seems like the last decade. Once again, it needs to be white boy summer to bring people back to the box office.
So this was a whole big discussion. And yeah, it's super cool being on a panel with Dean Cain. And I mean, I've had Dean Cain on, I've had him on Geeks and Gamers before. It's crazy world. And so this topic is far more divisive than, anything in the political world right now. The Superman discussion is fucking crazy. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. And we're going to talk more about it on Friday Night Tights here in about 35 minutes. So I'll save all of my thoughts on Superman for that. However, I did get into an argument with Tom from Midnight's Edge because Tom essentially, let's see. Tom says, this is a misrepresentation. I'm sorry. This makes me, let's see. I'm sorry. This makes me sad to see this. Not every man in the movie is not weak. This movie is about a man being a good man, period. This feeds into the media narrative. And so I responded to Tom and I said, Clark cries, Superman cries, Lex cries, Pa Kent cries, Ma Kent makes fun of Pa Kent for crying twice. Random homosexual man from the Daily Planet cries and hyperventilates while Lois commands the moment and saves the day. There's no scene in the movie where Superman doesn't need assistance from someone else. He literally never controls the situation on his own, and there's no scene where Superman saves Lois. I want to repeat that. There's no scene where Superman saves Lois. Interesting. And then I said, I'm happy Mr. Terrific saved the day and never cried in a Superman movie. It'd be nice if Superman could actually do that in his own movie. Oh yeah, Mr. Terrific saves Lois and Superman. Amazing. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Now, I was being a sarcastic asshole when I did that because that's what I tend to do. But yeah, so that's the gist of it right there. So Tom seems to think that I did this so I could get on Piers Morgan. Well, Tom, if it makes you feel any better, I've turned down bigger shows than Piers Morgan. And I didn't ask to be on Piers. I was simply invited for the second time. I didn't ask. I don't, it's whatever. Tom's very upset that I was on Piers Morgan, apparently, which I thought was pretty funny. So there you go. Tom thinks, he said, Jeremy said the movie wasn't woke. Well, I did say it wasn't woke, and I don't think that it's overly woke, but the storytelling is a fucking problem because it's a Superman movie that's not about Superman. Superman crying in isolation is not a fucking problem. Anybody crying in a movie is not a problem. But when you see the trend over, a movie can have woke elements without being overly woke. Absolutely. So, but there's a huge problem with this movie, and the biggest problem in this movie is James Gunn. James Gunn is the biggest problem because James Gunn is a leftist piece of shit. And, Superman is just not respected from anyone. So it's not like it's just the women talking down to him. No one respects Superman in this movie. Not even his fucking dog respects him. Even his dog doesn't respect him. Superman is always second guessed by everyone. Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, Lois, his dog, Lex Luthor, people around Luthor. Like, no one respects Superman in this fucking movie. It's Superman, and no one respects him. It's not a good movie. It's a really bad fucking movie. Even Supergirl calls Superman a bitch. Supergirl shows up drunk. Now, wouldn't you think that if Supergirl shows up drunk to the Fortress of Solitude, don't you think Superman would go, "What are you doing? Why are you flying around drunk? That's dangerous. And now you're leaving with your dog while you're drunk?" Wouldn't Superman want to talk to her and try to say "Hey, maybe chill. Maybe you shouldn't be flying around drunk"? It's insane. It's an unbelievably bad movie. But we'll get into that on Friday Night Tights. I just wanted to mention that people are triggered that I was on Piers Morgan, which is the funniest part. Somebody's Tom was like, "I hope it was worth it." Well, I mean, it wasn't really worth it until you cried about me being on it, and then it became worth it. Yeah. I mean, to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm not I got invited. It's not like I asked to be on. But whatever. Anyway, we'll talk about that on FNT. Don't forget, if you're interested, and we're going to be closing this out very, very soon, the CobraCast merch, hoodies, and t-shirts are going away very soon. I don't know if it's tonight. I'll try to push them to Monday. But these are going away either. I will try to get this pushed to Monday night. So we'll push it to Monday night when these will go away. So the hoodies and the t-shirts and all of that, the CobraCast logos go away on Monday. And then we also have the Alligator Enforcement Agent 199 t-shirts over there, along with the hoodies and everything. Those will be over there for another week or so. So make sure you check both of those out if you're interested. Mods are dropping links. So if you're interested, make sure you go check those out. Okay, back to the topic at hand. We got Darth Manic says, "I understand that your retail life is personal. I'm the same way from when I was a stripper." I understand. And I will just tell you, none of us want those. None of us want to hear any of those stories. I can promise. Even Beardo, did you already talk about the child slave labor in Cali? I did not. I was trying to get through a lot of the Dan Bongino stuff. I know there's a lot of controversy with Gavin Newsom. I don't know the specifics of that story, so I'm not positive on that one. David Field says, "Also just a thought, but what can Trump do when the previous regime had most of all of the access to the Epstein files to manipulate and do whatever they want to the files?" Well, again, this comes down to how the administration has decided to handle it. How does the administration decide to handle it? When you are Donald Trump, when you are President Trump, the way you answer questions matters. When you are asked about the Epstein files, your answer shouldn't be, "Yeah, we'll release the Epstein files." Your answer should be, "Well, the Epstein files is a very, very tough situation, and I'm not even sure what's left of the Epstein files because the current administration is in office right now. So once we get into power, we're going to take a look at everything, and what we are able to release, if is there, we will." But he didn't make that statement. So then, of course, that's one thing. He made the comment, okay, fine. Once the administration got into office, we all know about the binder thing that I'm never going to let go. So at that point in time, you set an expectation for the base that you were about to release something with this moment right here. You set an expectation right there. At that point in time, I'm not blaming the Biden administration for the shortcomings. I'm blaming the Trump administration because of this bullshit right here. That right there means you can't sit there and retroactively go, "Well, what if the Biden administration destroyed everything?" Then why did you guys do this? You know what I'm saying? Rootless Redneck says Jeremy is the Tim Kennedy of retail workers. Matt Frux says, I notice people are trying to throw Bondi under the bus as a scapegoat. Trump, Bongino, and Cash are complicit. Trump also endorsed Lindsey Graham. Well, listen, I hate Lindsey Graham. All right. And I wish Trump would not support Lindsey Graham. But the bottom line is Lindsey Graham is a useful idiot to Trump. That's ultimately what this comes down to. People question, like, why does Trump go after Thomas Massey, but he doesn't go after Graham? Because Graham is a useful idiot to Trump. Graham will never fucking say anything against Trump or do anything. He'll vote for what Trump wants him to vote for. He'll push through whatever he wants. Graham is a useful idiot to him. That's why. I still hate him, but he's a useful idiot to him. Zevin Cross for 5. Thank you. Boomy Bob says, so speaking of the Superman movie, Superman 25 or the Snake Eyes movie? Superman 25. Superman 25. Jeffrey Hill says, Superman's my favorite superhero, and they haven't seemed to get it right since the Donner Superman Christopher Reeve, always comic books. How do you not have a good story? I know Superman and Lois was very good. The CW show is actually very good. And the Adventures of Lois and Clark, obviously, is good with Dean Cain. But in terms of movies, you are correct. You are correct. Dragon says, Cobra, the only time a man is allowed to cry is if something heavy falls on him like a steel beam. Blast Radius says, I always knew Gunn was the wrong person for the Superman movie. I told people him and Snyder are edgelords. Only Gunn is a bit worse, and the character will suffer because of that. Yeah, I mean, shockingly enough, here I am telling you I like Zack Snyder's Superman more than James Gunn's Superman. Jared Armstrong says, get Piers on FNT. Tyler B says, we're not paying for it, though. Trump said NATO is. Mad Frog says, W Jeremy, W Pro Gamer, Africa expert Gary. Dude, I saw this. I posted this screenshot. This made me so fun. This is so funny right here. I posted this. YouTube comments are amazing. So this is on my my Superman 25 review. And it says, Jeremy is better at politics than entertainment. And then this guy says, it's actually the opposite. And then another guy says, he's neither, unfortunately. It's like, this is perfect. You got 3 different opinions. Like Jeremy needs to shut up about entertainment, stick to politics. Actually, he should shut up about politics and stick to entertainment. Actually, he's terrible at both. I was like, and then somebody right here, they were like, I give Jeremy a ton of crap. I know IRL, he'd hate my guts, but I love his content so much. Best political person and best gamer on YouTube. And I said, I probably wouldn't hate you, but me, the best political YouTuber, that's believable. But best gamer, that title belongs to none other than Gary from Nerdrotic right there. So, I love YouTube comments, though. I love how like crazy this shit is that people say. It's amazing. All American Superman says, and this is why my username was created. All American Superman says Tom and Midnight's Edge are gay. Eric K says Jeremy turned down Queer Eye for the gay guy. He has to turn down big shows he cares about. And in reference to like Tom and all, like I have no issue with Tom. I don't know why Tom is like sitting there claiming that I'm just trying. Like I've never had an issue with Tom. And just out of nowhere, like Tom is just like, you just wanted to get on Piers Morgan. It's like, I've already been on Piers Morgan. What are you fucking talking about? I've been on Piers Morgan. I didn't ask to be on Piers Morgan this time. I literally said the same thing in my Superman review 3 days ago that I said on Piers Morgan. But he accused me of changing my opinion to get on Piers Morgan. And I'm like, the fuck, bro? I'd never had an issue with Tom, but he just like came out of nowhere with this shit. He's very emotional. Which I guess makes sense why he likes the emotionally broken Superman. Tom from Midnight's Edge. Blast Radius says, apparently weak men appeal to Tom for some strange reason. Projection, maybe? Mazda Salamanca says, hey, Jeremy, how do you get the burning effect to stop after eating wings coated in Carolina Reapers? Everything burns comes out, brah. Sounds like a personal problem. Star Wars and Stripes says happy Friday. Hashtag 199. Thank you for the 20. Colin Bright says happy birthday to Jessica. Spirian for the $10 super sticker. Thank you. Even Beardo says FYI, I'm hearing Bongino quit. Well, the rumors are out there that he quit. I don't know if we've had any updates since I've been live. Let's see here. Don't see anything there. Yeah, the same updates. We don't have any new information right now. So here's right here. Young MAGA supporter says Trump will lose his base if he doesn't release the Epstein files.
I'm 15. 15 out here. What matters to you? Does this Epstein matter to you? What issues matter to you?
Yeah, I think that Epstein matters to me a lot because I think the fate and the trust of the government is on the line here. I think President Trump should tell Pam Bondi to do a press conference. The American people have a lot of questions.
I got to be honest. I didn't know this kid was that age. I don't even feel like, why would your parents let you go and be on national TV at 15 years old? That's a bigger fucking problem for me in that whole situation. I'm sorry, man. You can say the kid's based or whatever. Where are the fucking parents? Why the fuck are the parents allowing this child of 15 years old? That is insane to me. If the kid's right, then let the parents say it for him. I'm not letting my 15-year-old get on camera at a fucking MAGA rally and talk about the Epstein files. I don't even feel comfortable having that. I didn't know when he said like young Republican, I was like, okay, it was like 19 years old, 15. Yikes. Vault 95 says Jeremy promised that he'd bring back bragging rights. I did. Cornboy with a 199. Thank you, Cornboy. Appreciate that. Yeah, I would ask the same question of any parent. Like, why are you letting your 15-year-old get on camera at a fucking political rally? What is happening, man? It is what it is, I guess, though. So, no update. So yeah, the same places are just reporting that Bongino is considering stepping down, but there's no reports of him actually stepping down, at least that I'm seeing right now. Let's see. President Trump, First Lady arrive in Texas. I got that one. GJJ says over 2 years, I must be dumb. Oh, man. 15 in 2025 is not 15. We knew back then. I mean, listen, you can say whatever you want. I'm a father, and I would not let my 15-year-old kid get into a political rally and go on camera and make a political statement. Period. End of discussion. But that's just me. That's just me. So what's interesting is so is Laura Loomer the source of all of this Bongino stuff? Is she the source of the Bongino stuff? Because I see so with CNN's report right here, it's accurate that Dan Bongino has told people he's considering resigning. And then you got Laura Loomer says just in, Caitlin Collins is now confirming my exclusive report on how Bongino is considering retiring from the FBI over his clash with Pam Bondi. Interesting. Well. I don't know if that changes my opinion on this, but I mean, you've got all these other outlets saying it's true, but how many times have we had these outlets say something is true and it turned out to not be true? How many times has Axios said, oh yeah, this is inside information of the Trump administration, and it turned out to not be true? You know? I don't know. I saw a Cliff Fix in the chat. What's up, Cliff? Good to see you here, brother. Yeah, the amount of times that we've heard Axios report something from the Trump administration and it not be true is kind of crazy. Which you have to question, like, why does Axios keep getting any type of access if they keep lying about the administration? And of course, the idea that DeSantis could be front runner for attorney general, I don't hate that idea, but I would much rather have Matt Gaetz. I would much rather have Matt Gaetz. Because I don't really think that DeSantis would I don't think that DeSantis would get in there and put all of his focus on the Epstein situation at all. I think Matt Gaetz would. I think Matt Gaetz would absolutely jump in there and handle it immediately. Okay, well, we are 15 minutes from Friday Night Tights. 15 minutes from Friday Night Tights, so I'm going to end it there. I will go live again tonight to cover more of all of this because there's so much to deal with. So after Friday Night Tights, I will go live again. So make sure you have notifications turned on. And again, we're wrapping up the CobraCast merch. So if you have not, go over to Teespring and check out our CobraCast merch before it is gone. And I'll see you guys on Friday Night Tights. And it should be a hell of a discussion over Superman 25. Should be a hell of a discussion. So thank you guys. Thank you for the W stream. Thank you. I appreciate it. Always happy when you guys think it was a W stream. I appreciate that. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. See you for Friday Night Tights, and we'll talk to all of you later. Bye, everyone. Oh, you want me to raid Friday Night Tights? Hang on. Hang on. Can I? It's not. I don't think he has me approved. Like, you have to approve channels. I can't raid Friday Night Tights, so that's why I rarely raid anything except for my own channels, because some people have it turned on, some people don't. So, anyway, go over to Nerdrotic's channel, and you guys have a good day. We'll talk to you.